Hey, welcome back to the Modern Farming Podcast, where we bring you insights directly from the field about food, agriculture, and the incredible environment we all live in. And once again, Brad, we are extremely blessed. I don't know how we keep getting all of these educators, but the incredible team that we have behind the scenes of Brad and I's beautiful face on this podcast always seems to get really great, uh, great guests to be on. So today we're really excited to have Stacy Young, who is an ag teacher at Branford High School, also an FFA advisor. Stacy, thanks for being on with us. We've spent the last, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks now, Brad, talking to different FFA advisors, FFA students, 4-H students. So it's been a really great time of year for us, which I assume it's a great time for you as well. You're in summertime, is that correct, Stacy?
We are in the summertime. We're getting ready to head to state convention on Sunday. We're excited about that. Got some kids competing, and that's always the best thing about the summer is state convention.
Oh, sure is. I forgot about that. So you're on the road today. Thanks for jumping on with us. I know it seems like if you're an FFA, if you're an ag, there's never a downtime, right? There's always
Year
something going
round,
on.
yeah.
Yeah, there's never a downtime. Ag teachers pretty much work year round. And, like right now during the summer, we have students working on their essays. There are lots of kids working, especially in the fields with crops coming in and helping on their family farms. And some are actually going out and doing science experiments on farms of other people. And we have lots of things going on with the kids in the field with things coming in and convention. And there's lots of professional development available for teachers this time of the year. So it's a great time to prepare for the upcoming year and take in some new things and celebrate successes. It's just always something as interesting as happening.
So great. So great. And thank you for doing what you do. So if you could share us a little bit about, I know you're an ag teacher at the high school there, but can you share with us a little bit about that journey as an ag teacher? How did you become an ag teacher? Is it something you wanted to do, or like so many, it kind of chose you?
So I teach at the high school that I graduated from. I did not start teaching at the high school I graduated from, but when I was in 10th grade, I had an ag teacher, and his name is Dr. Dale Layfield, and he's at Clemson University right now. Actually,
Mhm.
he's in the Department of Ag Education Communication there. So Dr. Layfield invested a lot of time into me and into a lot of other students. And I told Dr. Layfield, I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to be the first female ag teacher in my school because my school's real rural. And my community at the time was real small. And being a female ag teacher was not something that was, I guess, looked upon real good. Like they wanted men. No, they wanted men. They had always had a male ag teacher. And so I told him, I said, I'm going to be the first female ag teacher in Brantford. And he says, I have faith in you. And he believed in me. And in high school, he invested time in me. I did some judging contests and one thing and another. And I got a scholarship. My parents could not send me to college. I had to earn a scholarship and put myself through school. So went to college, got a degree in ag education, graduated with high honors, really proud of it. And then I started my journey at Lafayette. I taught there 3 years. And then I wanted to try something new and go to a big school because I was just open to new things. So I went to Columbia High School. But the minute something come open in Suwannee County, I went home. And when I went home, I taught ag 4 years in Live Oak. And then I had 2 boys. And my youngest child had a few medical issues. And so I gave up teaching ag a few years to go to Brantford to teach science just so that I could be home with my son. And then when the ag teaching position come open in 2011 again, they said, Stacy, we think you'd be a good fit. So I went back to teaching ag and love it. And I'm thankful my boys were of the age where they could start showing in 4-H. So it just seemed like the right time to go back. And once an ag teacher, always an ag teacher.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and so let me say, I was the first female ag teacher in Brantford. And since
Congratulations.
Thank you. Since being the first female ag teacher in Branford, I increased enrollment. We got a middle school teacher, and guess what? Well, the first one was a male, but then I've had there's been 4 females there since we started the middle school program. So it's been exciting because now we're a 2 female program, 2 female teacher program.
Well done. Well done. So as the ag teacher, is it a class for all age groups, or do you have a specific grade that you're the teacher for?
So Taylor does the 6th through 8th grade, and I do 9th through 12th. I teach high school. I focus on that.
Now, when I was in ag,
go ahead.
When I was in ag in the late 70s, early 80s, you had citrus and you had cow, you had designated classes. Is it more of a general in today's world, or do you have designated row crops? And
yes, sir. So I teach Agriscience foundations, and I teach Agri-Technology 1, Agri-Technology 2, and I also teach an OJT program where they have jobs where they go out and work. And this year I had technical operations and maintenance, so like an ag mechanics class. But mainly like the foundations, the Tech 1 and Tech 2 is all generalized. And for our facilities that I have to teach with, we have a 175-acre forestry plot, which another man and I work with a committee to obtain that. And we actually have a deed now, and that generates that forestry plot's amazing. Can't even tell you how great that is. And then we have a center pivot on 4.5 acres, which currently has peanuts under it. But we also grow a maize in the fall and use a GPS to cut the maize with the water management district. This year we're going to put the maize behind the stadium because the peanuts will still be growing. So we're getting ready to plant that probably late July. We have built a new barn in the back, and we have a couple of sheep under it. And of course we have 2 donkeys that someone just gave us donkeys. I can't say no. And we have pens for kids to put their pigs. And then we have a greenhouse that we are currently waiting to get. The hurricane messed it up, and I think we finally have all the funding in place to replace everything that has to be replaced in it. And we got a new fish system, which we're fixing to start up in the fall, thanks to the Green Gene Foundation. So
that's great.
Lots of things. And we have a shop, of course, to do shop projects, which is one of my favorite.
How many kids are enrolled in the program there at the high school?
In 9 through 12, we have 146.
Okay.
And in middle school, it's 100. I think she had 120 something. Basically, we did an analysis, and it's 1 in every 3 kids on our campus is an FFA or ag.
Wow.
It's one of the more popular electives on our campus.
Yeah,
that's great.
Your rural America still, it's changing down here in Central Florida.
Yeah. So there, every time we talk to a school down here, it's, it's a total different story. But I assume that some of the kids that are enrolled in the FFA program they're still not very familiar with the farm. Is it still a first experience for some of these kids?
So for some of them it is. And what I have found is that I'm a very accepting person, and I believe that all kids can excel regardless of where they come from or what knowledge they have. And so I try to expose them to a little bit of everything in hopes that I can find something that each one of them clicks with so that we can enhance and build upon that. Like, I got another piece of machinery from Farm Ed this last year, and some of my students are now really into science. That connection come through the AEST organization. And the Farm Ed people brought in a machine, and it is all about science where you can control the nutrients that are given to it, and it graphs it, and it has data. It's something I wouldn't have been able to afford for my students had it not been through a generous donation. But now I have kids that are actually interested in the science behind growing plants. They are wanting to know why it does that. How does it do that? So you spark interest in kids when you least expect it, but by exposing them to a little bit of everything, you find what they really like.
Sure. Oh yeah, with the AI and the robotic herbicides, and and then you got kids that want to be mechanics, and you got the shop, the tractors, and that's cool. Yeah, the whole AI and science is a big deal.
Yeah, it's really, really neat. And like I said, I think agriculture has something to offer everybody. I think it has a little bit to offer
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you do? What do you work on in the summer after convention is over? What happens? Do you have students still coming during the summer to the school? You got projects going on all year round?
All that. So currently, though, when I come back from convention, I have one day that I'm home, and then I leave next week to go to Indiana because I was picked to be a national FFA teacher ambassador again, which was truly a blessing and an honor where I get to go and learn stuff from National FFA, and then I get to go do different workshops throughout the year and present it and help teachers. And sometimes I help teachers just with like phone calls or FaceTime, like we do a lot of that. And then I'm home for a couple of weeks, and then I leave again and go to Kentucky. This year I got picked to be a National Agriscience Ambassador Academy, so I'm going to Kentucky to receive training in the middle of July. Then I'm home 2 days, and I leave again to go to a faculty workshop for 3 days. And then other than that, besides doing all those conferences, I'll be visiting with students and helping them get OJT credits in the summer and working on SAE projects and developing plans for the upcoming year, chapter officer retreat, you name it, we'll be doing it.
So
Love
who's
it.
taking care of the peanuts, the donkeys, and the sheep while you're
Okay,
doing
so
all this?
that's kind of cool. So ready for this? I have a student that works for a big farm, he and his daddy. And our school tractor actually right now is down and being fixed. They brought in the stuff, and I have a student that is handling all of the planning. He and his parent are handling the whole thing for us. I did add him to the center pivot control, so like I'm the admin that controls the pivot when it rotates, and all the kids love that, by the way. That's kind of cool that they realize you can control a pivot with a phone. That's a whole nother story. But anyways, I have a student that's doing that, so that's his project.
Hmm.
And then the sheep, this is even better. I have a school resource officer and a future student that'll be coming in. They're going to take care of the sheep for me the week of convention, and then we have another student that'll come in the other week and take care of it. So I make sure that everything is handled before I leave, and I email my admin so that my admin will know who's doing what.
So great. So great. Finely tuned machine you built.
Huh?
I said
Oh,
you built a finely tuned machine.
well, I try to include everybody, and I'm really big
Yeah.
about including my communities. So, like, I think it's cool that school resource officer wants to help. I think it's neat that the coaches want to run at the forestry plot for cross country. Like, I think when you start including everybody, then everybody can learn about agriculture, and that's what we need in today's society.
That's so great. So what does it entail when you're an ambassador, an FFA ambassador nominee? Or what happens when
So,
you become an ambassador? What does that entail?
so the first year that I got nominated, I'm not sure who nominated me, but someone nominated me, and they sent me an application. I filled it out, and I interviewed. And I'll share this because it's kind of personal. Um, I've lost a lot of students over the years, and more than probably any teacher should ever lose. And the first year I got nominated, they called to interview me, and when they interviewed me, it was around the anniversary of the death of not one but two of my students. I lost two former students within
Hmm.
a week of each other.
Mm.
Two students that continued to come to my little events and give back every chance they could. And so the first year when I got in, I filled out the application, and then I had to do a virtual interview, and I had a hard time because they asked me a question, and it was still new. The whole thing was still new and I was still grieving. And I made it through. And I was like, this truly is a blessing. And I wasn't sure how, I made it through. That interview was really hard. It's probably one of the hardest interviews I've ever done in my life. And I went out there, and they just filled me full of resources to come back and share with teachers, stuff that I wish I would have known about years ago that I could have been utilizing the whole time in my classroom. And so now when I reapply, I have to redo the application just like everybody else, and then it goes through a process. and then they pick, and when they pick, they send you out for a week of training, and then you come back and you share what you learned. And so it's been a blessing. But those two kids, I've had a lot of kids have an impact on me, but those two I think about quite regularly.
Yeah.
And both of them, you
So
ready for this? Both of them left my program and entered careers in the ag industry.
Mm.
So
awesome.
both of those kids went back and found a way to be in the industry. One of them was the one was running a ranch in North Dakota. She was on a cattle ranch working on her
Mm.
master's. And then the other one, he was welding, working for an outfitter.
Mm.
So, yep.
Yeah. So how many students do actually that you know of, I guess, go through the program and stick with ag,
Um,
post college?
I can't keep. I really haven't kept an accurate count of it, but like nutrient, there's a place called Nutrient, and I know y'all know what Nutrient does, like with chemicals and stuff like that. I have quite a few students that are working at Nutrient right now that have left my program and are now working at Nutrient. I have some that are like crop specialists up in Georgia. I have one, two, three, four that are teaching ag somewhere. So not just in the state of Florida. So I have a number of kids that leave and go into the ag industry.
That's great. That's great. That's the sign of a true leader, right? On how many other leaders
Hmm.
you create. So, good for you. So okay, there's some sort of deciding board on whether you become an ambassador because you said you were a nominee, right?
Hmm.
So if you
So
become an ambassador,
I don't know
what
anything
changes?
about. So I'm not real sure about how everything. All I know is that someone nominated me. They sent me the application. I fill out the application. It's scored with a rubric, and then they take the scores from the rubrics, and then they screen them out, and then they interview, and then after the interview they pick who returns. But like each year now, I'm required as an ambassador to do an update. They'll send an email to me, and I have to answer all these questions about how many workshops I presented, this and that. And when I do a workshop, people can actually scan my QR code and they give feedback. So National FFA sees how effective my National FFA can see how effective my workshop was, and they provide that feedback to me so that I can improve my workshops in the future. And so I think they take into account all of the feedback and everything else, and making sure that you do all of the requirements. Like I have to do so many things
Sure.
throughout the year.
Now, you were a state ambassador before national? Is that
They don't have state
no?
ambassadors; it's only national.
Okay.
Wow. So what big projects do you folks have coming up on the horizon, or maybe even into next school year? What are you most excited about as we go through summer?
Oh my goodness. Which project do I love the most that we do? I don't
Obviously,
know. We have
obviously, it's the aquaponics now that the Green Gene Foundation has helped you all install that. But other than that,
other than the kids are all about these fish. They wanted them fish at the end of the year till we realized that Miss Stacy would have been had to figure out what to do with those fish, and I was going to be gone 2 months. They would have been okay taking the fish in May, but we had to put a hold on that. So besides that, we do a lot of community service projects, and I'll tell you one of my favorite is we build scarecrows along the highway every year, and we have a scarecrow row contest, and we started out with like 12 little. Well, first we started out participating in the town contest, and then some farms said, hey, we want to build scarecrows, can we use the front of your farm, because our lab touches the main highway coming in and out of our town. And so some farms said, hey, we want to build a scarecrow, can we put one in front of your farm? And we're like, sure. So what started out with us just doing the little thing to participate in town has turned into, I think we have 46 scarecrows last
wow.
year lining the front of our farm. And like the kids picked themes. So like one year we did ag careers, and all the scarecrows had to be a career related to ag. And like this year we did, I don't even remember what we did this year, but like every year I let kids pick something, and they pick something cool. And then we have all these wild scarecrows built in front of the lab, and people drive and they park their cars and they get out and they take pictures with them, and it floods social media. That's like one of my favorite.
That is
Do
really
they,
projects
cool.
do
that
they,
they
do
do.
they work? Are they keeping crows away, or do they do their
Listen,
job?
I don't think they do, but you know what? I have a whole lesson prepared. Seriously, I prepare a lesson on the history of scarecrows and
They need
like
to know what they're
pest
for, right?
control and manage. Yeah, like we talk about pest management and different ways to do it, and then we build the scarecrows.
Yeah.
It's just
So
fun.
do you
It's
get
like
to?
a fun thing.
Yeah,
That's
no,
cool.
it sounds great. I'm just curious that I don't think I've driven through town. Although now I want to drive through town to see all these scarecrows. But so are you able to? Are the kids able to get into? You said a little bit about nutrients, but do they understand like the pest control, the disease control? Are you able to get them hands on on the farm anywhere?
So no, I wouldn't risk that with chemicals in today's world.
Sure,
Like
sure.
I
Right.
teach them chemical safety, and we cover that, and we cover the PP, personal protective equipment, PPE. We cover all that stuff, but I'm not going to take them and let them. They have seen. I tell you what, they have seen before the hurricane destroyed my greenhouse. We brought in ladybugs and released them to let them eat the
Mm,
aphids. They thought that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
like, they got to see stuff like that. I mean, when I have a chance to show them something safe, then I do. But as far as taking them out and doing like chemicals, I'm not gonna do anything with chemicals. I
Right.
have showed them what diseases look like on plants and stuff like that.
yeah. I think that was more what I was thinking. Obviously, I knew
Oh
that
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
kids the worker
Identification.
protection standard ain't gonna let them in the field anyways. But yeah, I just wanted to know if there was any, focus on, crop protection, nutrient analysis, things like that. But maybe FFA doesn't.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Well, ag does. I mean, FFA and ag.
sure,
FFA is
sure.
intercurricular. It's an extension of ag, and so even with the forestry plot, they learn about forestry diseases and disorders. And then FFA has a forestry contest where you can apply what you learned in the classroom. So it all goes hand in hand.
Yeah. With all the buzz about soil health in this day and time, do y'all do some cover cropping in the fallow season or when is your fallow is summer pretty much, or is it always in peanuts?
Well, this is the first year we put it in peanuts, and I put it in peanuts because, it's a legume, and I was hoping to put some nitrogen back into the soil. So I need to like rebuild it up and get it ready before we start doing any kind of row crops out there.
Got
Yeah.
you. A
When
lot of
when does
cattle
that
there.
start back up? Somewhere in August or something?
Back up in where August? School
Yeah.
starts in August, yeah.
Yeah. So you'll put the crops go back in the ground somewhere middle, late August.
Well, the peanuts are in the ground right now, and
Sure.
and then we'll harvest late August, 1st September, and then we have a sun hemp that we'll start putting in July with sorghum. We'll put it behind the stadium, and that's what we'll use for our maize, and then we'll do a spring crop.
I love it.
Are you using that for forage, or is that just strictly just to help soil?
Help the
Or
soil.
yeah.
Yeah. Really incredible. Really incredible. Great work. I think, I know my wife and daughter are both going to the convention here next week. I've never been, but I hear that it's a big party, like day one, loud music, everyone's dancing. Do the kids really get excited about going, or are they excited about hanging out for a few nights with the rest of the team members?
I think they're all excited. They're always excited. We leave on Sunday. I have an ag issues team. Their topic is H2A, so they've learned a lot about labor laws. Uh,
Great
our
one.
middle school has an OCC team, has a exempt speaker. We have some proficiency finalists. We have a state star finalist. It's always exciting. And I'll just be honest, my son was a state officer, and that was probably one of the best convention years ever.
Oh wow.
Like, I really, I've experienced it as an advisor. I've experienced it as a parent of a child competing, and I have experienced it as the parent of a state officer. So it was it's rewarding any way you look at it.
That says a
Yeah,
lot for
totally.
mom.
Yep, mom and teacher. I guess nothing changes, right? Just more
Well, now
kids.
let me just tell you, my boys will tell you that I was harder on them than I were my regular students.
Sure.
So, because
Shocking.
you hear sometimes that, well, the parent may do this or the parent may do that. No, my boys will tell you that I was harder on them than I was my other students. And to be honest with you, the boys, when I can't feed on a weekend, my grown children that are 21 and 19 go feed for me.
That's so great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they still help their ag program. They donate to help kids. They put money on the chapter pig this year. Those boys, and both of them are in the ag. Both of them are in the ag field. One of them's actually up in Moultrie right now doing some stuff with some crops, some research. The one that was a state officer, and then the younger one's working at Nutrient.
So great. Great company, by the way. They cover a ton of ground. They got a lot of ways an individual could grow in that company too. So it's really cool. Have you seen numbers of chapter members at the high school? Are they increasing, decreasing, kind of staying stagnant? What do you see there as far as a trajectory going forward?
Mine's going up. I think.
Great.
I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of it has to do with the program.
Of course.
And the teacher. A teacher that's motivated, and a teacher that is fair, and a teacher that loves their subject, and a teacher that loves their job will have higher numbers than a teacher who does not.
Sure.
100%.
So what's your favorite if you weren't a teacher, if you were farming, would it be cattle, row crops, forestry? I mean, what do you like?
Mechanics.
You like it all.
I like to be in the shop. Like I really
cool.
love to be in the I really love to be in the shop. I mean, the crops are cool, the animals are cool, but I really like to be in the shop.
So the shop, what's all in the shop? Are you having kids taking apart tractors and working on engines, or what do you got in the shop?
So honestly, I'm more onto the woodworking and the planter box
really?
building and the stuff like that. I'm more into that stuff than I am the other stuff.
Wow.
I mean, I can do the other stuff, but I really love woodworking.
Yeah, I remember that in middle school or early high school, but I thought that all went away. So good for you for bringing that back. That was one of my favorite classes. You know, you build a birdhouse or something, and that was always really cool. And I think, are these trades? Do you see some of these kids getting more excited about trades, such as, you know, mechanics, woodworking, HVAC, things like that, as they go through the ag program? Are they a little more hands-on, is what I'm getting at?
I see kids wanting to go more technical school than I see kids wanting to go more four-year college. Kids are getting tired of school, and I see more kids wanting to go technical into work than I do college.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that, but I'm just wondering if that's something that's that's more consistent with the ag students than other students, and I just don't know.
I don't know. A lot of my kids know what they want to do, and they just I don't know. I haven't looked at some other things yet. You know, I stay so busy doing what I do that I really haven't looked elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
I think I'm fixing to lose y'all.
Well, if we lose you, it was really great to have you, but we'll keep chatting with you as we go. But so numbers are growing. Kids are more interested in doing a lot more of this hands-on kind of work. You know, outside of that, where do you see the state of FFA and in the state of Florida and at the high school?
So FFA is bigger than ever. Thanks to the state helping pay for every student that sits in the classroom can be in FFA. So they're paying for chapters to affiliate. So every child will have the same opportunity with FFA, and with the new SAE for all, it's going to help. It's going to help kids have better SAE projects and more opportunities for scholarships. I think the program is going to continue to grow. I think agriculture is a phenomenal industry. It is vital to our economy and our survival, and we have lots of kids that can enter it in a number of different fields. They don't all have to go to a farm. Some of them can be in marketing. They can go to research. They can design labels for new crops, you know, new varieties. Yeah. So I think it has something to offer everyone.
Yeah, no, and we talk about it all the time. You know, a kid today or a young person can't afford to go out and buy land and farm. He's either got to be born into it or married into it, or just go work for somebody that's farming. It's not like it used to be.
No, it's definitely not.
To get in that field.
Yeah. Yeah, well, no, that was a great plug. And since you're on the road, I know you're making extra time for us. Maybe let's leave it there because that was like a perfect segue into a nice close here. But hey, Stacy, we really do appreciate one everything you're doing for the kids, for the state, and just for the ag economy itself. You said it best. I mean, it's just Brad and I talk with every guest we have, whether they're from Florida or from somewhere around the country. You know, ag is a huge part of not only Florida's economy, but the U.S. economy and the worldwide economy. So we're extremely grateful for all the work you're doing. Have a wonderful time at convention. I know it's always a really exciting time of year for everybody. So, and again, we hope to have you on maybe sometime in the semester. We could kind of check in on the kids, see what projects you got going on, and hopefully
Absolutely.
maybe
Maybe we could do some kind of FaceTime or something, or some way I can show you the scarecrows. Or I
yeah,
can, better
or
yet, I can
Oh,
let my
for
students show you the scarecrows.
there you go. Or maybe we could check out those fish that the Green Gene Foundation is working with y'all on as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, hey, Stacy,
Thank you
we
so
appreciate you
much.
being on. Yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in to another episode of the Modern Farming Podcast. You can find Brad and I and one of our guests, which happens to be a lot of educators. It's really cool talking to everybody. The different stories we get from everybody, Brad, is really encouraging. The one thing that is really consistent with every educator seems to be that the numbers are going up. And so we're
yeah.
really excited to hear that. Everybody at the Green Gene Foundation, thanks you for joining us. Brad and I thank you. Hope to see you again here next week, next Friday. Everybody have a great summer if you're on summer break, and have a great weekend. Talk to you soon.